Welcome to the Tuesday Night Big Book Workshop. I am Christine, grateful recovered alcoholic. Sobriety date January 5th, 2020. This workshop is facilitated by Tony.R. and we will be keeping everybody muted for the duration of this workshop, except for the facilitators. Any inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated, and you will be removed by one of the co-hosts. Please note that Tony will be taking questions after the meeting, so please write them down. And how we open this meeting is with the set-aside prayer. Dear God, please set aside everything I think I know about myself, this book, my disease, these steps, and especially about you, dear God, so that I might have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help me to see the truth. Have an amazing meeting, everybody. Tony, it's all yours.
Right on. Recovered alcoholic. My name's Tony. Sobriety date April 8, 1989. We're going to disturb some people tonight. Who's all in? Who's all in? Hey, we'll see how open-minded you are. You know, it's amazing how open-minded we are when everybody's saying what we agree to, right? Huh? Yeah, it's like, as soon as we hear something a little contrary to our thinking or belief or what we've been taught, is kind of like, then it becomes stealing. Then the sparks start flying, right? And then we're in our mind waiting for the rebuttal, right? But the good thing is you guys are muted, so you have to wait till the end of the meeting for the rebuttal, or you could just do the high five with one finger and leave the meeting, right? So we'll see how we do here. So I know it's hard to believe, but I've gotten a lot of high fives over the years, right? But the good thing is those who ended up staying sober end up making amends. So, have fun now, but I'll see you later, right? So, I was at a meeting today, and people were really perplexed by what was being said. And I thought, how strange. How strange that people would have a hard time with the understanding that's outlined in the big book. But then I kind of went, well, maybe we kind of misunderstand what's being presented because it creates too much fear to really look at this thing in the essence as it's laid out. Like step one, when you truly understand step one, it should create an anxiety-based, like that guy talked about, he felt like the gates of hell slammed shut on him when he was explained what an alcoholic mind was. And so a lot of people talk about, I'm working on my alcoholism. Well, are you still drinking? Right? Or are you in between drinks? Because alcoholism is classified as when these people drink, they have an abnormal reaction to alcohol. We all agree on that, right? So it kind of, we think we get thirstier. We thought we had a consequence problem. But what we have is we're impaired from the amount of alcohol we're consuming, and we can't seem to stop before we get in trouble. We always go well beyond where we should have went. Anybody? But we always got to where we're going, right? How much did you drink? Just enough. Just enough to pass out, black out, right? How much? The only time I drank too much is when I got in trouble. Anybody here? The only time I drank too much is when I got in trouble. All the other times I drank enough, right? Just, right? So when they started talking about the second symptom, and it's hard to get your head wrapped around that this symptom has us, we don't have it. And when it happens, it closes the kind of, when they talk about here, on last page of, we're going to kind of go there for a second, and you'll see where I'm going here in a second, is more about alcoholism. And they close off this idea is, who's reading tonight? Christine, hey, what a great reader. You're a great reader. Huh? And I do interrupt her every now and then because this is a big book study workshop or the program of recovery. I had people say, why is he always interrupting her? Because it's a workshop, right? We're passing on our experience, strength, and hope and stuff like that. So, Christine, everybody at page 43, last paragraph, once more, right? Anybody ever been told that? I'm going to tell you one more time. Anybody, it's serious when you're getting that, right? Anybody ever get that in their life here? I'm going to tell you one more time. Oh boy, better listen. Okay, go ahead.
Once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink. Except in a few rare cases, neither he nor any other human being can provide such a defense. His defense must come from a higher power.
So when they talked about the second symptom as the malady that centers in the mind, it's a condition that we really can't see, feel, and touch. And when they got together collectively, they kind of said, we're a little different than these people in Dr. Silkworth's facility who kind of recognize they have a problem, are able to apply self to self, and leave the facility with a program of recovery that they work on, and are able to keep themselves sober with a progression of wellness checks and all that stuff in the group. You hear that all the time. They're able to stay sober. Then there was a group of people who seemed to be beyond his scope of helping, right? He kind of referred to Bill as that type, yes? Right? Upon his third treatment, a patient went into his facility, the type he come to regard as hopeless, because he already dealt with him twice. Remember that the first time Bill thought he had it going on, surely this was the answer? Then the second time he was baffled. The third time is he had a course of action other than himself, right? He had somebody who had the experience of, being an alcoholic and also recovering from this, take him through a course of action, and that was the change that the doctor witnessed, right? So this change that came about seemed to do the impossible, right? And so the doctor witnessed this wholehearted miracle taking place in his facility, and he welcomed the idea of helping these people that were beyond his scope. Yes? So these group of people who put this basic text together, got together and kind of all sat around and kind of shared their experience, strength, and hope, and said, you know what, this condition of the obsession, we seem to be progressed past that, right? This is the early stages of alcoholism where I see I want to drink, I fight with the idea of drinking, and I take a drink based on the idea, right? And then there comes a stage in the progression where I don't want to drink, right? There's no obsession to control and enjoy our drinking. Anybody been there? Right? And you continue to drink anyways. So these people said, well, there seems to be something different going on than us. There seems to be this condition in the mind that when it becomes present, we're without defense against the first drink. Right? In the cases, ounce of whiskey, crossing the threshold of the diner. The other guy had such a profound inner workings of the mind, he thought relapse was unthinkable. Remember these stories? Right? Mm-hmm. So they all believed on this side of the step one experience that they would have the elements of staying sober. And it took another relapse, right? Something that they didn't see coming, something, the takeover of the mind that they talked about on page 37 as a phenomenon, right? And they tried to explain this thing. So when they all sat around, they kind of went, well, this thing seems to have a hold of us. And when it happens, we're without defense against the first drink. We find ourselves wondering why we took the drink after we've taken it. Anybody been there? What am I doing? I can't believe I'm doing this again. He says this malady, this condition we can't really explain, is this what the characteristics look like for those who suffer from it. And those who just suffer from the obsession don't understand the blank spot, the malady. They don't, because they've never experienced it. Nor did the other guys fully comprehend it until they relapsed again. Remember the guy on Fred? He said, and I now remember what my friends have prophesized, that if I had an alcoholic mind, the time and place would come when I would drink again. He thought it wouldn't happen again based on his experience. So he had a step one experience realizing this condition placed him beyond human aid. Yes? So every example that they give was people who thought they had it going on. It took another relapse to see that they didn't have it going on, or to go back in their drinking history to create the step one experience of the realization of oh yes, this characteristic, I seem to have it, I exhibit it here, 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 and here. So when you write out your step one, you should be talking about the allergy and the blank spot, right? An act against your own will. Anybody been there? That's the baffling feature. So if you don't know when it's happening, right, and the only solution is a psychic change of spiritual experience, right, that as the result of this course of action, it removes this characteristic or this part of the problem, right? Because we'll always have the physical part, but if you don't have the component that condemns you to drink again and act against your own will, then you don't have to worry about the physical part. Is that making sense? Everybody picking up what I'm putting down here? So here's where I lose people. If you look at the book, right? The last episode we've had with alcoholism was our last relapse. That's the last episode we had. So my last episode with alcoholism was April 8, 1989, an hour after the noon meeting. It came back. And I was without defense against that first drink. And then I got into a course of action that put me in a state of grace. That then it created a psychic change or spiritual experience, right? And I've never had alcoholism return since April 8, 1989, where I found myself without defense against a drink, where I was drinking again. Now, what am I left with? I'm left with the human component of this illness of why I used to like to drink in the first place. So I can't deal with this component, but I'm left with this component. And both of them are battling each other, right? So as I go through the spiritual course of action, it takes care of the one problem, which is alcoholism. It removes that component of my thinking by having a psychic change or spiritual experience. Once I have a psychic change or spiritual experience, or once these people had a psychic change or spiritual experience, do they still have an alcoholic mind? Are they still alcoholic? But they're no longer without defense against that first drink. Their defense is based on a reliance on something greater than them, which we call a daily reprieve. Does that kind of make sense? Because who's the last person to know when this thing returns? Us. So that's why my reliance isn't on me, which is different than these other people. These other people can see where they're in trouble. They take it to a meeting, call their sponsor. They do all the things that keep the meeting makers make it. Nothing wrong with that. It's just I've progressed in the progression of alcoholism. They talk about their brains and bodies weren't as damaged as ours were, right? So I can understand that point, right? They talk about, who wants to quit when there was still time because we like the effect produced by alcohol. Anybody? But I never liked the consequences. Now, how many people had a bit of grinding going on in the brain? Because we think alcoholism is all my emotional states. No, that's the human condition. Well, irritable, restless, and discontent is alcohol. No. The doctor said these people were irritable, restless, and discontent. Why? Because they didn't have a solution for the human dilemma. My wife is irritable, restless, and discontent once a month. We call that PMS. We don't call that untreated alcoholism, nor would I dare to. Oh, reel it in. But she has the human condition. She's aware of it, and she acts, dresses it accordingly. Or if there's stuff going on in her life, she'll get help. So if I've never mentioned that I never drank before, she met me like 18 years ago. If I never mentioned that I never drank or had a problem with alcohol, she would have never known. She would have never associated with me being an alcoholic. Right? Do I still have the human problem? Oh, yeah. She helps address that with me on a constant basis. Right? Through love and guidance, it's called, right? All the married women, amen, right? Okay, so now, we realize there's two things going on here. There's the human component and alcoholism. As long as I still have this component present, I'll never be able to have longevity in my plans, designs, and hopes. Yes? What keeps interfering with my plans, hopes, and designs? I keep getting loaded. Anybody here? Was that the plan, hope, and design? No, right? So they're saying step 2 says we have a solution for this problem in step 1. When pursued, would also give you a solution for you. So you'll no longer need people, places, and things, alcohol, drugs, money, all these things, right? Well, you'll pursue different things to make you feel better, but you'll be tuned in. You can't stay there long because you're absent of this connection. So, page 43, they talk about, we've done that. So page 44, they talked about in the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. Then everything I needed to know about alcoholism was in the preceding chapters. Yes or no? Do we all agree on that?
Definitely.
And you notice the only two things they talked about was this allergy and the inability to stay sober. And the different types of people who can stay sober. And what type are you? And then they reiterate that, right? If I'm of this type, right, where I have the physical component and I have this malady of the mind, right, that they can't really define it, but this is what it looks like if you have it, a phenomenon that parallels with and when it becomes present, I'm drinking. Anybody? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can't see, feel, and touch it. So then they say to be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on spiritual basis is not always easy alternatives. They never talk about alcoholism or the symptoms of alcoholism really again. They talk about you're either getting loaded by not doing this or you're going to find a better solution, right? They give us warnings all the way through this about the insanity of alcohol returning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Wow.
Not our alcoholic behavior. Big difference, right? And so as we get into this, we find out what our problem is lack of power. And how we define this power, well, that's what this book is about. So if I'm willing to go through this course of action with them, then I'll get this thing. Where do they say this thing is located? Page 55 is deep down within. Yes? So that's where I need to always be able to come back to, like a GPS. When the GPS gets off track, when you get off track from the directions of the GPS, what does the GPS do?
Goes back.
Well, no, it tells you. Recalculating, and it tells you, hey, you go, what? I found an easier way. Okay, well, let's do it your way for a little while, but I'm here if you need me, right? And then you start swearing at the GPS because you're not listening to it. Anybody been there? Yeah, okay. So we're getting God's prayer system in order here, right? Because the receiver is deep down within me. What does that mean? So I know I need this new guidance system within my life to make it more comfortable, right? To make things a lot more easier, especially if you live in Surrey, right? Like, right? I need to be able to navigate around. So, but there's a disconnect from me and the server. I have everything I need, but if I can't connect to the server, how useful is all this other stuff? Well, we see what it looks like as a result of what my life looks like as being disconnected. Yes? So we see the receiver to my computer, my phone, everything is deep down within, but that's not the source. It's the receiver. Does that kind of make sense? The stereo in my truck that has everything I need, but unless the radio station is transmitting, I won't be able to receive. Right? So they're saying this thing is deep down within, so I need that information as I go along here, is that it will always be the recalculating to this point within inside of me, my consciousness, which they kind of mention all the way through here. You notice everybody talked about the consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you, this experience that happens deep down within. The thing that got you here was what was happening inside of you here. Up here, you're used to the noise and the damage, but this thing in here is what got us here. When you really think about this thing in here, right? This thing that kind of had a squeeze. Hey, kitty, this thing that had a squeeze hold on us. This thing that had a squeeze hold on us, right? This thing that kind of squished us inside. Anybody have that anxiety-based fear? The squeezing, right? Yeah. So this thing is what, and then they talked about in the spiritual appendix, all our members have tapped into an inner resource. So the idea of the beginning of this thing is here on page 55, deep down within. We've gone through that, right? Yes? Mm-hmm. So now we go through we agnostics is the human condition of the inability to move past their own thinking and open to new ideas. That's what they're saying. We need to help you navigate through your own thinking that you can make a beginning to this thing, right? Because as long as you're stuck with your own ideas, you're never going to move past where you are. You need to be open to new direction, new dialogue, new way of looking at things. So in We Agnostics, they talk about we should be open to the presentation of new ideas. What's step 2? Is the formulating and conceiving of new ideas and a game plan. Yes? Yeah. Step 2 is came to believe it gives us the conception of the idea of what we need to pursue to have this experience. So it's collective. It's not single, it's collective. I need a certain power to create a certain change that I need to acquire through a certain course of action. What you call that is secondary. what you call it is second, but we all agree to this is the fundamental basis of it. Yes?
Yes.
So when they all got together and sat together, they said, this is the problem as we have experienced it. This is the solution as we experienced it. And this is the course of action we took. So we put our collective experience in here. This is how our experience based on people like us. Those observing it or those who are looking at it won't make any sense. Right? They'll argue. That's how you know right away whether these people have this illness or not when they start arguing. The only requirement for membership is to stop drinking. Sure. But that won't keep you here. All these sayings, and I'll leave it alone. Don't go there, Tony. Reel it in. Okay. See, how's that for self-monitoring? I nearly went there. Okay. Then when we get to 60, this is important. They talk about the human condition. They start moving into the human perplexity, right? Why we have so much problem, and these things are governed by inside of us based on our belief system and our values. They drive us. And the alcoholic is an extreme example of the human condition. Why? Because we didn't learn how to navigate and mature. I don't know how else to say that. We're kind of immature. I know it's hard to believe. Not you fine people, but the rest of us. We're grandiose and immature. Anybody? We're adolescent. I'm taking my toys and I'm leaving. Kicks on and we leave. Like we're just. Anybody ever look at you the way you conduct yourself sometime and go, my God, what are you doing? You ever look at you and go, what are you doing? Like you're having a hissy fit. Any hissy fits here? You're alone and people go, you acting like this will be the longest stretch of puberty some of you will ever go through. 15, 20 years, 25 years. Right? But, because we create a little damage. Our firing pins through the years of abuse and all that, a little off, right? Anyways, moving on. 63. They talk about an idea here. The top of 63 is a presentation of their experience. They talk about when they got this power flow and then they experienced peace of mind, happiness, and then they're saying, now we're going to show you how to experience what we just talked about, the overview here. So page 63 is an overview. When we sincerely took such a position, this is what happened as we went through this process. The third step prayer is an idea that I could experience these things if I'm willing to go through the process. It's a summary of the whole process from the beginning to the end. Step 12, it's a summary of highlights of what needs to happen. And you notice that the bondage of self and difficulties that lie within has to be shifted so I could have a new experience. And it has to be shifted through the access of power when you look at this, right? Mm-hmm. And when I have this experience through the shifting of the access of the power, then I can bear witness of like those that went before me of what's available here. Then we talk about our experience, not our ideas. I need to have the same experience with this thing as them. Yes?
No.
So here's the fun part. And lucky you people, somebody said to me, phoned me, this guy was sober a while, and said, boy, they don't really talk about 6 and 7 much in the big book. You hear people say that all the time. They do. If you've done all the work to 6 and 7, you'll understand exactly what they're talking about. If you go with other people's ideas who've never done the steps, then there's a lot of confusion around it. Then you're buying books like Pick Up the Rock, Drop the Rock, Smoke the Rock. I don't forget, something like that. There's something going on where self is applying self to self. And it's easy to get back into that delusion that I'm going to fix me with me, based on me. I just need to become more aware of my behaviors. Anybody hear that stuff? My old behaviors, my new behaviors. I'm working on this. I'm working on that. Who are you focusing on? You're focusing on the problem. That's like going to the bathroom, doing your business and standing there for a while and admiring your work. Do the paperwork, move on. Hit the fan for the next guy. Okay, so sorry, I don't know where I go sometimes. Here I am. So let's all this shit. We're either in it or moving away from it, right? So page 64 talks about removing these blocks, yes? Mm-hmm. So I need to find out what these blocks are, yes? Yes? Yeah. Okay. So then it talks about here is an overview of what we're trying to accomplish or what they're going to teach us. Is a new way of looking at things, a new way of valuing these things that we hang on to, a new way of being objective to the things that are killing me that I didn't realize that are killing me. Right? And it's very specific. It doesn't say self. It's very specific of these things because we don't, this is later, it's the proper, you always have your will. You'll never be able to get rid of it. You can't take it back. You can't get rid of it. You hear people, I took my will back. No, you just decided to go this way with it. You never took it back. That's implying that you gave it. Once you give something, how are you going to get it back? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a different conversation, right? But we see things that don't make sense. We ask to the care of. Here, can you take care of this? That means you expect it back, wouldn't you? Hey, I'm going on holidays. Can you take care of my dog? After 2 weeks, would you expect your dog back?
Yes.
Yeah. So the care of. So I need to experience a change in order to conduct myself differently. And it becomes the proper use of will. You always have your will. Right? That's the greatest gift we have as human beings. So they talk about one object is to disclose damaged or unsalvageable goods, to get rid of them promptly without regret. We hear it, to work on. Anybody hear that? I need to find out these things I need to work on. This is saying get rid of them. Do you want to stay in the bathroom or do you want to leave the bathroom? What do you want to do? Get out of the bathroom, right? Nothing good happening in there anymore, right? Okay. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup that caused our failure. What are we looking for? The flaws in our makeup that caused our failure. Yes? They're not talking drag queen here. They're talking personality stuff. Not the flaws in our makeup. They're talking about something that's originating inside of me that's causing my failure and my demise. Right? Which is kind of interesting. So, I had to close the door. Dog's getting in. So they start an idea here. Yes, a presentation of okay, what am I looking for? So they're going to take me through this. And so they which had defeated us, we considered as common manifestations. Mm-hmm. So we're looking for the things in ourselves that caused our failure and blocked us off from the life force of the beacon of the receiver that we have within. We've all had it because this thing's always talked to us. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here seeking a different story. You know that part of you goes, what are you doing? And you talk to it. Anybody ever talk to it? I don't know, man. And it's go, what are you doing? I don't know. You ever wonder who you're talking to? Like you're freaking you out. That's what it is. Like the part that you wants to stay alive says, hey, you up there. I don't know if you realize this, but when you go, I go with you. Like we don't go moving. Like, hey. Right? That's why you have those conversations in the mirror. Anybody having a conversation in the mirror? What's the matter with you? How many people's done that? And wait for an answer. Nothing coming. Long pause. Okay, that wasn't productive at all. Then we'll spit and move on. Okay, so they say resentment is the number one offender. Resentment is the number one thing. From it stems all forms of the spiritual disease. So I see what's making me spiritually sick is the resentments. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. What's the other thing? Is how I hang on to things. And they give us the reference. They, like ourselves, were spiritually sick. Why are they spiritually sick? Because of their conduct, the way they involved us, the way they treated us, the way they, right, their resentment, their harms, right? And how they hurt us. So we see... So we're talking about the human dilemma here. Notice it didn't say because they were alcoholic they did these things. No, they were spiritually sick also, and they involved me like I involved other people. Yes? So resentment's the first one. The second one is fear. Right? Mm-hmm. Yes? In the inventory? Yeah. Yes. So we got resentment, we got fear, and attachment. Yes? No. Yes? No? Everybody agree? Yeah. Then on 68, they talk about we're cultivating this relationship now through this recipe. We started through the prayers, third step prayer, the resentment prayer. we're starting to play the role he assigns. What's that? Is to be present and try to be useful. Going to my home group, I'm phoning my newcomers, I'm going to go help set up, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to be a worker amongst worker, I'm going to pack a lunch, I'm going to be more responsible. What is the assignment today? God, what do you want me to do today? Be present. Try to be a help. Try to be of service. When you start feeling these emotional deformities come up, stop and pray. Meditate. Ask for a new direction, a new thought. Sometimes when we're crazy in early sobriety, anybody ever been crazy in early sobriety? I get sponsees, they phone me, they're out of their mind. I said, have you been sitting for a while? They go, how did you know? Because I said, you can't be mobile and formulate that kind of crazy. You got to put some work into it. you got to sit and nobody interrupt me, right? I phone and they go, I'm not taking calls right now because they're really called. Anyways, to the percent that we permit these. To match calamity with serenity, so that we realize it's about acknowledging something that's happening to me, that's interfering, that's causing an emotional shift, right? So I see I don't have an anxiety disorder or have a thinking disorder on attachment.
Definitely.
So now I'm going to apply prayer to create a shift or the stepping back from, right? And the more I cultivate this, that's why the 4th step goes right into the 11th step after we do 5, 6, and 7. It goes right into 11 that night. What night? The night you finish 7, you should start 11. And cultivating this process, because step 4 is the foundation for step 11. It's about this relationship, yes?
Yeah.
And then it goes into our conduct, which really causes us a lot of problems. How we rob ourselves from happiness, or we rob other people from happiness, or we conduct ourselves in a manner that causes guilt, shame, and remorse, or in a position to be harmed. Anybody? Am I singing anybody's song here?
No.
Right? So now we have a new way of looking what created that and a new idea that I'm going to move toward in step 11. Right? And so when they go through here and we talk about what we do is in page 69, they talk about whatever our ideals. I'm going to get you involved there, Christine. I'm just getting it wrapped up here. Go ahead. Page 69 at the bottom.
Okay, whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. We must be willing to make amends where we have done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm.
Underline this. In other words,
we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter.
So this is the formula. In step 11, right, they talk about when agitated, we pause and ask for the right decision, right? So everybody's so stuck on 10, and half a paragraph says continue to work on you, okay, but it's all about 11. Where is God in it? Am I pausing? Am I bringing God in? Because if I'm doing 11, then I don't have to worry about making amends. That's what they're saying here. If I'm meditating and bringing God in and asking for direction, will amends have to follow my conduct after that? Only if I choose to ignore it.
Yeah.
And go my way because I see the benefits of it, okay? So, in other words, we treat sex as we would any. In meditation, we ask God what?
We ask God in meditation. You've lost me. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it.
And that goes into page 164. Obviously, you can't transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship is right. And remarkable things will come for you and countless others. So see to it, right? This relationship, yes?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about, yes? And remarkable things will happen. Everybody talks about the promises, but nobody talks about the basis of the promises is a derivative of their relationship with a power greater than ourselves. We'll suddenly realize that God is doing for us what everybody talks about. I'm talking about what I'm doing for me. We'll leave God. Oh yeah, thank you, God. Right? You got to watch that self-centeredness, right? So first stage recovery is all about us, yes? Second stage recovery, the transition of the loop, is all about my relationship with this power and everybody around me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And as a result of that, the dividends I get to enjoy are beyond anything you could ever imagine. So, here we go. Page 71. We hope, this is the summary of what the exercise is in step 4. So step 4 is to master resentment, outgrow fear, and to align my conduct where it doesn't cause harm, guilt, shame, and remorse, and to be free of the harms that I cause others and the attachment to that by making right. So there's actually 4 things there. So I got this all down. I'm looking, I've admitted to me and I've admitted to God, right? Because that's who I'm going through this with. So this is the summary of hope, what they're hoping on. Page 71. We hope
you are convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from him.
Okay, ready? What is the self-will that's been blocking us off?
Or resentments, harms.
Yeah, resentments, harms, fears, the attachment to these things are blocking us off, yes? My attachment to these things, right? Whatever self-will, my attachment to this is self-will. I'm not letting go of this stuff. My story, my attachment to these things is where I spend my energy, values, and thoughts, and right time is in this story, and the cultivating and the continuing and the grooming of these things has caused me my problems. Yes, my emotional deformities are all attached to this, which is abscesses on my spirit that cuts me off from a power greater than myself. So I've gone through this process. And what they say is, we hope you are convinced when?
Now.
Yeah, now. Right? When is this process happening? Now. When do I do God's will for me is now. So this is a now thing. We're not later people, are we? Here, take this now, and in 2 days you'll feel something. Is there somebody else here with something? I need something now. How many people are now people? They know that. We better get you hooked up now, because we know you won't wait a couple days for it to kick in. Take this drink, and in 3 days you'll feel it from now. Okay, it's okay. Okay, go ahead.
If you have already made a decision and an inventory of your grosser handicap.
Okay, okay. An inventory, you got to follow me. Inventory of your grosser handicaps. What are your grosser handicaps?
Human condition.
Very specific. Resentments, fears, harms, and conduct. You got to follow they're carrying this all forward, right? Even though it's the same thing. But we think we're going off in a different direction now. Yes, it's a part of the human condition, but what are the things that are blocking me off, causing me problems, right? And my handicaps are these resentment and fears, yes? And my conduct, I see how they're handicaps, because if they continue, am I going to have a free, productive life? No, the insanity of alcohol will return again, yes?
Yeah.
And I'll keep blocked off. So, go ahead, keep reading.
You have made a good beginning. That being so, you have swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about yourself.
How we hang on to these resentments and they poison us, right? And these fears right? And all these things, I see how destructive they are in my life, and my inability to shake, be rid of, or to be free of. How I bury them, they're recycling within my life. All acceptance, bury, acceptance, letting go, all bury. I see these things have been a reoccurring bad bill. Right? My idea of letting go is when I get the notice, put it in a drawer. Anybody? I'll deal with it later. And I get more notices, and then they cut my phone off and I get upset. And I phone them to let them know about they're lucky to have me in my business, right? What do you mean you want your money? Okay, anyways.
Oh, true.
So, next page. Having made, this is going into the 5th. They're going to tell us the purpose of it now. And they always go back to the purpose because they know you're going to start thinking. Right? Or you're going to go with somebody else's idea instead of looking at the book. Let's look at what the book says on the continuation. We hope right? You're convinced now that God could remove whatever these deformities are, resentment, fears, and conduct, so you can find some freedom, some moments of, from this internal calamity, you can find some peace. How cool is that? Huh? So let's see what it continues. It says, having
made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We have been trying to get a new attitude and a new relationship with our Creator.
New. That comes from a new experience. My idea, my conception is the idea that I could formulate a relationship with this power that becomes personal to me that will take care of these things that I can't take care of. The removal of these things. Yes? That I start to have this experience now. It's no longer your experience that's motivating me. It's my experience with this. Right? What started me was your experience. Now I'm having my own experience with this because your experience won't suffice for me anymore. Right? And as I get challenges in my 8 9s, I could draw on your experience, but it has to be a derivative of my relationship with something greater than me to access the power to overcome the fears within inside of myself, right? In order to face these things. Okay, go ahead. New relationship with our Creator. Ready?
And to discover the obstacles in our path.
What are the obstacles in our path?
Our resentments, our fears, harms, and conduct.
Right? How our value system, these things that we hang on to that cause our problem. Discover the obstacles in our path. Now, these obstacles, right, that most of them will be let go of, see what they call these obstacles in our path. We have
admitted certain defects.
Okay. What are the defects that we've admitted to so far?
Our defects are human condition.
It's the same ball. The same ball. They're not going to go, we're changing the ball now. We're changing it. You figure it out. It's because they know the audience we're working with. They're going to start thinking again. They're going to start thinking, so we better keep this consistently going, right? It's like kids holding on to a string, right? Don't let go of the string. Oh, he's letting go of the string. Okay, we've got to tie this to your wrist now, right? Everybody in a straight line, right? Okay, right? Over here, I know something shiny over there. Over here, come back. Okay, we've admitted certain defects. What are the things we've admitted to?
We've admitted our wrong.
Resentments, fears, harms, and conduct. Yeah, I know. Like, that's why we go over this over and over and over and over, because it's been a week. What the hell is that? My friend, I had to phone him back 4 times. I didn't have nothing to write. I said, what was the name of that place? He told me the name, and I got the first one, I forget the second part. And then he started talking to me, and I got off the phone. I couldn't remember. I started guessing half a different. I phoned him back again. I said, what was the second part of it? He told me. I said, I can't talk to you. And then I explained why I can't talk to him. And then I forgot again. Then I phoned him back. He says, are you kidding? I said, no, this is what I'm dealing with.
This is what I'm dealing with, yeah.
Right? Certain defects, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then they talk about all our life story, right? And through this process, what they're hoping on is what we learn is the sidestepping or the deflation of ego. And humility is the first thing we need to obtain to get this, and it's the first thing we lose before our sobriety date changes, is humility. Between who? Not so much between me and you, but between me and my Creator. Always go back, no matter how mad I've been at God, and I've always humbled myself to the fact of, okay, okay, you know what, God, I need you because I can't survive without you. It's like being mad in the middle of the ocean and wanting to throw away my life preserver. I can't do it. I can't do it. This has to become a part of me if I'm going to survive. So this life preserver is not something that's away. It's a part of me. And I know no matter how it feels or what's going on, I can't get rid of it because my life depends on keeping it. And that forms a bit of humility, doesn't it? Yeah, I've been mad at God a few times. I know nobody in this group has, you spiritual giants, right? But I've had it out with God a few times. Anybody? I've even tried hard negotiation, coercion, manipulation, unbudging. And then I come back, okay, like my dog does to me sometimes when he comes back and he shows submissiveness, right? And the relationship continues. Okay, anyway, I don't know why I went there, but we went. So, now, this is important. So in 75, they talk about all the way through there, they tell us what we should be looking for, the purpose of 5 and all this. It's a pretty big thing. A closed-mouth friend, and we're going to participate, and we're not going to get somebody who's going to assess our 4 for us. A closed-mouth friend means they keep their mouth shut, and if you're struggling, they will share some of their struggles, not in regards to, you see, it's the child within, and you have abandonment issues. We're not certified counselors. The purpose of the 5 is to exhibit humility in the revealing of all these things that I wouldn't tell anybody. And I tell one person I don't talk from a podium anymore. Anybody ever do a bit of their 5 from the podium? Oh my God, and have to see those people again? Okay, moving on. So, they talk about here, we may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. An experience meaning it's personal. I move from the conception to the experience. And it's kind of like, yeah. And we may describe that experience as different, but it's all the same experience. Right? We all travel the same road. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, you see, right? They talk about this stuff. So, let's go here where they talk about we thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Let's start. We pocket our pride and go to it. Illuminating. Everybody there, page 75?
Yeah. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twisted character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken the step without holding nothing, we are delighted.
Withholding nothing, yep.
Mm-hmm. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience.
And they tap into that wording in the 10th step and the 11th step. The tapping into, the continuation of the momentum of this thing. Right? Mm-hmm. Look at 6, and you're right into 11. It says, we've just entered the world of the Spirit. Well, where did that happen in 5? Our next function is growing understanding and effectiveness. Where is that in 11? Mm-hmm. Right? And as we're doing 11, what are we supposed to be doing? Working with other people in 12. So in essence, the design of this thing, the only thing that it's designed to do is 11 and 12. If you're living in 10 all the time, you're missing something.
Yeah.
You got treatment ideal based sobriety. Because step 10 moves you into 11. Right? People say they go hand in hand, but step 10 is an overview of what we could expect if we pursue this. That's why it talks about after the promises. By this time, sanity will have returned. By the time I'm halfway through my 9s. And my relationship and working with other people, somewhere along the line, I've experienced this thing, which is the window in the spiritual appendix in the back of the book. It talks about what usually takes place in a few months, not by the time I read step 10. Wouldn't that be nice? Because if it happened by the time you read step 10, how many people would do 11 and 12? You wouldn't. Would you?
No.
That explains why. Not saying nothing. Hurry up. Move on. Okay, move on. That explains why the fellowship's in the condition it's in. Too many people working on themselves, sons of a bitches. Okay, go ahead. I'm all right now. Here's some step 6 stuff. Come on. Go ahead.
The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. And
they close off page 164 by saying that. Interesting, isn't it? That this book is a loop.
Yes.
It's interesting. This is the same thing that they're saying on page 164. Interesting. Broad highway. So that means I've entered a different fellowship. The first fellowship I came in was the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now I'm in the Fellowship of the Spirit. I'm connected differently. I was always connected, but I was unaware of it. Anybody ever think about somebody and they call you? Anybody have something that, oh my God, just like these coincidences or this weird stuff? Right? We're connected without realizing we're connected. There's things that work, like Bill in second time in treatment, and then Ebby showing up. There's things that work based on the transmission we set out to the universe. God hears it and puts things in motion. Like this newcomer, she had no idea what took place. And one day, hopefully, she says she went out with her friends and they were drinking for lunch, and she was struggling. So she went into the bathroom and started crying, asking God for help. She came out of the bathroom, right? And she ran into this old guy, ran into him, and she just started talking to him. And he says, I'm a member of AA. What you should do is just leave now and go to that meeting down the street. Standing outside the bathroom waiting for her to come out. He didn't know why he was standing there. She didn't know why he was there, but God knew exactly what was going on, right? But it's just a coincidence, right? Okay, go ahead.
Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know him better.
That's the whole purpose of this whole thing. Not I know me better. Where did that take place? Well, I know me, my behaviors. How did it become about you again? Where did that transition happen? It's about sidestepping you, about this relationship, right? But now it's all about you again. Oh my God, let's start over. Let's go over this again. Why? I kind of like me. I like talking about me. Enough about me. What do you think of me? Okay, can I share? No. Move on. Okay, go ahead. Any burning desires? Hell yeah, I've been thinking about me all day, and I think people should really see what I've been thinking about. Okay, go ahead.
Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything, for we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last.
So the last time they talked about that was on page 62. This connection deep down within, the arch, the stepping from an instinct base to a spiritual base, the oh my God, the shift that happens inside, the stepping into that element or that, right, stepping into the spiritual structure that we're building, that they talked about, and we acknowledge the stepping into this energy field within me that creates a right? Go ahead.
Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? And have we tried to make mortar without sand?
Yeah, keep going. Don't stop now. You're getting oh my God, don't hold them in suspense, lady. Don't hold them in suspense. Now what? Intermission. We'll be right back. Now from a word from our sponsor. Keep reading, lady. Go ahead.
You can answer to our satisfaction. We then look at step 6.
Okay. What do we do? We look at, not work on. We look at. When you look at something, not the way we look at something, put your fingerprints all over it. Look at means no touchy. Leave it alone. Look at it. I remember when I had my show bike, is like I had these old timers come up and they start, oh, nice painting. They put I spent 2 hours polishing. They put their hands all over, and I'm like, looky, no touch. You ever see those nice cars that says don't touch? No. I don't know why we always want to touch things, right? Put our prints on it. No touchy. Let's look at. Go ahead.
We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable.
That's the key ingredient, willingness, right? Now.
Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable?
Stop. What are all the things that we admitted are objectionable? Come on, you can do it, Christine. You can do it. Come on. What are they?
All things blocking us.
And which are what?
Harms, conduct.
Yeah, let's do the way for Christine. Yeah. Okay. So, some people are crazy on here, right? So These are the things that are objectionable. The fears, the harms in conduct. Yes?
Yeah.
And our attachment to these other things. Yes. What? Now, question mark, right?
Take all, everyone.
Can he take them, not work on? Because remember, the point of the exercise was to get rid of promptly without regret. Gone. Work on. Is like, anybody ever have rotten celery in their fridge? How many people want to hang on and work on it, try to reformulate it? You got to get rid of it. It's soup now. You got to get rid of it. Okay, go ahead.
If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing.
So there it is. Can he now take them all, every one? And some of them will become more aware of, as we're doing 11, of these defects that formulate our personality. A defect formulates your personality, how you conduct yourself today, based on what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a defect. A defect from the factory, they do a recall, yes? Okay, go ahead.
When ready, we say something like this.
So now, right, if we still cling to something we'll not let go of, we ask God to help us be willing. So when these things come up, which talk about 11, we pause, we pray, and ask for redirection. It's like, God, I'm willing to let go of this, but it seems to be steadfast, like really hanging. I seem to be unable to let this resentment, this harm, this fear, or this conduct go. But give me the strength to do it. I want you to have it and replace it with something better. I don't determine that, God does. So now that's step 6. Now it's about my past. Yes? Is step 6 about my past and my attachments? Yes? Yes? Anybody here? How many people are still here? So, okay, I know it's a lot, right? So step 6 is about the past. I realize that of the things that I'm bringing forward. Now we're going to go back to the contract of what? What God's will for me is to live in the present. Yes? To play the role he assigns. Yes? Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
When ready.
When ready, we say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad.
Because I don't know when I'm being manipulative. I don't know. On one hand, I could be kind, considerate. On the other hand, I could be mean. I don't trust me. I trust, okay, am I doing what's right? I'm living out of here, right? And when I step out of here is how do I get back here with this creation? I pray
that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows.
And sometimes what that looks like is, anybody ever go in a garage and there's a lot of stuff in there and you got to get access to something, but there's stuff in the way? You got to move it out of the way to get access to that drawer or that thing. That's what our lives look like sometimes. But God knows what those things are. It doesn't mean they're gone. They're just there. Right? They're still over there, but they're not determining how I conduct myself today. Pretty cool, right? And in step 11, it says when these things come up, I pause, I address, and when I review at night, I ask what corrective measures can be taken so I don't fall in that emotional pitfall anymore. That these things not determining how I conduct myself. So go ahead.
Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7.
The completion of 7 is the realization of the confirmation of 3 that goes into 11. I'm reiterating my decision of this relationship, right? So I'm not surrendering to it. What I'm doing is saying I need guidance, right, in this relationship to save me from me and to save other people from me. I need a new experience. So it's the proper use of will, which goes into 11. Yes? So 6 and 7 makes a lot of sense now if you've done your 4 and 5. Yes?
Yeah.
Right? And if I'm trusting and relying on God, technically, I'm not the same person as I was when I did 4 and 5. So what would I have to be working on in 4 and 5 if I'm not the same person? Step 4 and 4 is a person based on a non-spiritual basis that created all these problems. Yes? Today I'm looking for a spiritual experience. I'm being governed by something else. I'm being governed by what's in here.
Right.
So now when these emotional deformities happen, I know there's something going on and interfering with my instincts. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. I enjoyed myself. Live long and prosperous. There we go. Next week we're going to look at some of the other stuff. Thank you, everybody. I hope you guys had as much fun as me. We ended up recording tonight because I knew There's like, holy smokes, there's like the windows down there. Everybody got their head stuck out the window, right? So,
The fog is great.
woo! Okay, go ahead, Christine. Live long and prosperous. May the force be with you.
Thanks, Toby. There are no dues and fees for AA membership, but we do have a PayPal account for those who wish to contribute. We also have a Facebook group titled the Big Book Steps Study Discussion Group on how we recovered. We have a YouTube channel, and if you search Tony.R. Vancouver, you will find close to 100 talks for a more in-depth understanding. Please stick around until the end of the Big Book study, as Tony will answer questions then. And how we close this meeting is with the third step prayer. And who makes it possible, Tony?
What's the foundation to a great life?
God. I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Does anyone have